Harry, it ain't gonna happen. Dream on, baby.
Hasn't Australia suffered enough? What have you done to deserve this?
There shall be a crowd, and they shall be mobbed. It'll be like the Beatles in the 1960s. No one's interested. They could do a press release about where they're going to be and when, and it'll be a no-show. So a spokesperson for the Duke and Duchess, we don't know who it is, but it will be someone that will be fired early tomorrow morning. And it'll be another member of the Sussex Survivors Squad. Here's what they said. They said, the Sussexes.
What happens when a country that once cheered on a royal couple suddenly says, "Not so fast, you're not welcome here"? And what does it mean for the monarchy when one of the Crown's most loyal Commonwealth nations starts pushing back? Welcome in. Thanks for clicking this video. Seriously, it means a lot.
Will visit Australia in mid-April to take part in a number of private, business and philanthropic engagements. Who do these people think they are? What are those business engagements going to be? Given the fact that the world's biggest streaming giant has just fired Meghan Markle and has had nothing to do with Harry for years.
And if you enjoy these breakdowns, make sure to subscribe because it costs you nothing and you won't miss the next part of this story. That's the storm building right now as Prince Harry and Meghan Markle prepare for their next trip to Australia.
Forget or don't think for 1 second they won't try to make it look like an official royal engagement. They will want certain photo opportunities where there's an audience clamoring for them so that they can send those pictures to People magazine. But for the most part, I do think that it will be mostly private events and commercial ventures that they're pursuing more so than charity opportunity.
But before they've even boarded a plane, a political firestorm is already erupting. A petition signed by thousands of Australians is spreading fast online, demanding that not a single cent of taxpayer money goes toward their visit. And this isn't some small corner of the internet making noise. This is turning into a full national debate. For many Australians, it all comes down to one simple question.
So it's quite extraordinary. It's going to have the opposite effect. If Harry thinks that this will be a game changer, the game will be changed and it will work against him because Harry is going to once again infuriate not just his father, King Charles, but of course the real power behind the throne, William, who is the equivalent of the president-elect. He is the heir to the throne. He's the king in waiting, and he won't take any of this nonsense from Harry when he becomes the main.
Why should public money support two people who no longer officially represent the crown? And here's what makes this even more intense: the history. Back in 2018, Harry and Meghan landed in Australia for their first royal tour as a married couple, and the reception was massive.
I expect there'll be a very different level of public access to them this time. Would they be likely to be doing public events with meets and greets of members of the public, do you think, or will this all be very tightly controlled?
It will be tightly controlled. I've seen what I thought was interesting was the announcement included private events. Like wouldn't we just assume that they would want privacy throughout the excursion? But don't.
Crowds filled the streets of Sydney and Melbourne. People waited hours just to catch a glimpse. Meghan's style and confidence connected instantly, and Harry looked completely at ease. At that moment, they felt like the future of the monarchy. But that moment didn't last. Since then, everything has changed.
I mean, the couple's, I know, I'm thinking thoughts and prayers. The couple's popularity in Australia in 2018 was the catalyst for Harry and Meghan making demands as working members of the royal family. I don't know if you know that. In trying to step out of William and Catherine's shadow, Meghan started comparing herself to Princess Diana and tried to use this trip as leverage with the late Queen. As of late 2025, Harry and Meghan's popularity in Australia is at an all-time low.
The couple stepped back from royal duties, moved to California, and launched major projects, from the interview with Oprah Winfrey to their documentary series and Harry's memoir. Along the way, they built a global brand that critics say still leans heavily on royal connections. Now they're returning to Australia under a completely different spotlight, not as working royals, but as private figures with something to prove. And the second their visit was announced on March 8th, backlash hit immediately. The petition gained traction fast, with a message that couldn't be clearer. If they visit, it must be treated as a private trip.
Harry wants to be right at the heart of the royal family again because he wants the fame, he wants the status, he wants the privilege, and he wants the money.
She and Harry have been a massive disappointment for Netflix.
Yeah, I feel like we had this on our 2026 bingo card, didn't we?
No official status, no government coordination, and absolutely no taxpayer-funded perks. For many Australians, the rules have changed. The era of automatic royal privilege may be coming to an end.
And the Mark Dolan show has been told by a very well-placed royal source that we trust implicitly that this trip is one that Harry hopes will put him and Meghan back on the royal map. That is how deluded these people are, that they think there's a chance that there's a way back when clearly there is.
The petition lays it out bluntly. No VIP treatment, no ceremonies, no public spending. With rising living costs, many argue that public money should stay focused on everyday citizens, not high-profile visitors. And the comments? They're brutal. Some say Harry and Meghan can easily afford their own expenses. Others go further, calling these visits performances or even cosplay tours, suggesting they mimic royal duties without delivering real value. That word, cosplay, it hits hard because it raises a bigger question. Has the line between royalty and celebrity already been crossed? And once that line is crossed,
by up-and-coming reporters, people just starting out, people you don't know of. Jackie O! Jackie O, how does she qualify? The whole thing is such a farce.
It's so unserious. It is so unserious. And I used to have maybe a shred of respect for them. Now it's totally gone at this point. I can now see the truth of what Meghan's PR strategy is. Craven views, that publicity here and there. She doesn't care about independent journalists. She just doesn't. It's true. All she wants is a bit of a headline, and unfortunately, we keep giving them to her because she's easy. She's very easy to go after, but she makes it like that for herself, Andrew.
can it ever really go back? If you're already seeing where this is heading, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what comes next. Because in the next part, things escalate even further and the reaction gets even more intense. According to royal commentator Tom Sykes writing in his Substack newsletter, this backlash isn't coming from just one side, it's spreading everywhere. And if you're following this closely, you already know this is where things start getting serious, so make sure you're subscribed because the next parts only get more intense and you don't want to miss how this unfolds. Opposition is now building from both monarchists and Republicans, two groups that almost never agree on anything. And that might be the biggest signal of all.
They're doing this all wrong. I mean, they're very lucky that they got out of Jordan just days before the Middle East erupted. But you can see that they're not privy to any of the sort of stringent protocols that go with being a royal, going on a royal tour. I think it's totally disrespectful to the royal family, especially with all they're going through at the moment.
Republicans see this visit as the perfect moment to question the monarchy's relevance in modern Australia, especially when Harry and Meghan are now global celebrities running private ventures. But for monarchists, the reaction cuts even deeper. Many loyal supporters no longer see Harry and Meghan as representatives of the crown. Instead, they're viewed as individuals who have openly criticized the monarchy while still benefiting from the global attention tied to their royal titles.
And there's no way that any self-respecting entrepreneur is going to throw a few Australian dollars in their direction. The other thing about the Australians that I know intimately well is they don't like grifters. They don't like fakes. They don't like phonies. If you go to Australia, you don't have to be perfect, but you got to be real.
For them, the idea of the Sussexes arriving and receiving anything that resembles an official welcome feels like a direct contradiction of Queen Elizabeth's long-standing principle. You're either in or you're out. No middle ground. And suddenly, the timing of this trip becomes incredibly interesting. Harry and Meghan are expected to arrive in April. But months earlier, something happened quietly behind palace doors. Last September, Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese met with King Charles and extended an official invitation for the Prince and Princess of Wales to visit.
In a way, it's confected. It's because they're irrelevant. They're falling off the news cycle. Meghan isn't selling any jam. You know, it was the Queen's dying wish. She did say in that statement when they Mexited that she didn't want them to be 1 foot in, 1 foot out royals. Now, over here, we're calling them kind of gig economy royals because it seems like they're just picking up jobs here and there, wherever they want to do them. They never wanted to do the full-time work. I think Meghan found it way too hard.
There were strong rumors that Prince William and Princess Catherine might tour Australia later this year. But now, those plans are uncertain. And by the day, they seem less likely. And that creates a twist no one expected. The couple who stepped away from royal duties could end up being the first major royal figures to step foot in Australia in years. While William and Catherine remain thousands of miles away, Harry and Meghan are the ones meeting veterans, attending major events, and dominating headlines. Palace insiders reportedly say that contrast is already creating quiet tension.
And of course, they're so worried about their security. Are they going to have armed cops in Australia? Well, the good people of Australia will not be expected to cough up money for the protection of these royal spoiled brats. Why should they? The Australians have no skin in that game. And we know that Harry's battling the Home Office in the UK for armed royal protection.
Because every headline about the Sussexes sparks the same question across the Commonwealth. Why aren't the future king and queen showing up more often? The spotlight is about to get intense. For years, William and Catherine have been positioned as steady, reliable, carefully managed. Meanwhile, Harry operates outside the system, free to move fast, grab attention, and dominate global conversations in ways the future monarch simply can't. And
it is a total farce. You can see, I love that, the Bogan vote. I mean, you can't get more sort of out of touch or out of tune with how Australia is than to think, oh, I'm going to stand up for women's rights and talk about my, my plight and my fight for freedom with Jackie O.
Australia isn't just another stop. It's a stage loaded with history. Their 2018 tour won over the public, but reportedly stirred friction behind the scenes. Now they're returning as private figures with business interests, controversies, and a completely different public perception.
Our source goes on to say, Harry is hoping to tap into some of the magic of that last trip 7 years ago, where he believes that he and Meghan truly shone. He thinks that his father, the king, will be impressed with this Australian trip and will reach out.
Every appearance now carries weight. Every handshake, every photo, every moment gets analyzed. The same country that once embraced them is now questioning their place. This isn't just about a visit anymore. It's about identity, influence, and the future of how royalty is seen.
Harry sees this trip as a potential game changer in his relationship with the family, and our source goes on to say, Harry wants to turn heads, wow everyone, and show the royals what they're missing. Yikes! What is going on? Is Harry back on the mind-altering substances? We know from reading the book Spare that he was baked for a decade. Well, people will say wow, right? So he wants to turn heads and wow everyone. People will say wow when he goes to Australia. They'll say, wow, this couple are so embarrassing. Wow, this couple are deluded. Wow, this couple are living on another planet.
Australia is bracing for something bigger than a tour. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have become a symbol of a monarchy under pressure, of a global family drama, and of growing public frustration. And that petition demanding they fund their own trip, it's now turning into something much larger. The government has already made one thing clear. This is a private visit. Taxpayers are not automatically expected to cover the costs, but in reality, it's not that simple.
Harry and Meghan plan to rebound from this latest flop with another tour of Australia. A spokesperson for the couple telling news.com.au the couple will be visiting in mid-April. Kinsey, their last tour here was back in 2018, 18 months before they quit their royal duties and relocated to the US.
Local authorities still have responsibilities. Police forces may still need to manage security, crowds, and logistics. Which raises the next question. Even if it's labeled private, who really ends up paying the price? Stick with this, because in the next part, we break down exactly how that plays out and why this situation could escalate even further.
They're among the least popular members of the royal family. I would say reception will be a combination of morbid curiosity with the side of, why are they here?
Yikes! Harry's desperate move. A cynical new low for the prince as he plots yet another fake royal trip overseas in a last shameless attempt to win over King Charles and make himself a frontline serving royal once.
They're coming to do a mock royal tour of Australia next month, Samara, where Meghan Markle is going to appeal to the Bogan vote by going on a podcast with Jackie O. What is this visit all about?
Oh God, can they just stop with the pseudo-royal tours? I mean, they're like pound store royals at this point. You just can't sort of understand why they're doing. And Meghan and Harry, it's just another cheap publicity stunt for them. What's new? What's new? Honestly.
And if you're still here, drop a quick subscribe. It genuinely helps and keeps you in the loop for everything coming next. The symbolic punch of that petition is now colliding with real-world logistics, and the gray area just keeps getting bigger. Every public appearance during this visit will feel like walking a tightrope. Will cheers overpower the boos? Or will old tensions flare up even stronger?
Now, Harry wants to be a frontline serving royal because he's bored in America and he's flat broke. Don't forget, the deals are disappearing and Netflix have just pulled the plug.
Because sometimes the fate of major institutions isn't decided in Parliament. It starts with petitions that grow louder and louder until they can't be ignored. Australia is about to test what many are calling the Sussex model.
Sources told Page Six the return on investment simply wasn't there. The show was a significant disappointment to the streamer, and with the product line being an extension of With Love Meghan, it makes absolutely no sense to maintain this working relationship.
Private celebrities with royal blood stepping into public spaces that may no longer see them as heroes. And if you've been following this story, you already know it's escalating fast, so make sure you're subscribed, because the next part might be the most revealing yet, and you don't want to miss how this plays out. What started as a whisper has now become a full-scale political story. The petition has exploded across major outlets and even gone international, and it's forcing Harry, Meghan, and even the palace itself to confront questions they've managed to avoid for years. The stakes couldn't be higher. When the Sussexes land in April, they'll be stepping into a nation that feels divided. The Prime Minister has tried to stay neutral, carefully labeling the visit as private. But neutrality doesn't stop headlines, and it definitely doesn't stop public opinion. Every move will be analyzed. Every smile will be questioned. Every headline will carry weight. Australia, once the backdrop of their biggest royal success, has now turned into something very different. A high-stakes battleground. And behind the scenes, officials in Canberra are walking a diplomatic tightrope. Show too much support, and they risk angering thousands of petition signers. Show too little, and it creates awkward tension with the king's own son. It's a fragile balance. Because while Harry may operate like a global celebrity, he is still a royal by blood, and that changes everything. Meanwhile, political voices are starting to take advantage of the situation. Critics are using the petition as proof that the monarchy itself may be losing its grip, arguing that the Sussexes have blurred the line between duty and personal ambition. This visit is no longer ceremonial. It's a test of relevance. The monarchy once commanded automatic respect, but today, every decision is questioned. Every cost is scrutinized. Public pressure, online campaigns, and petitions have become powerful tools, and now they're shaping the narrative in real time. And Harry and Meghan stepping onto Australian soil? It's no longer just a visit, it's a moment of reckoning. At the same time, William and Catherine remain silent, exactly as protocol demands. But make no mistake, they're watching closely. Every headline, every shift in public opinion, every debate about royal funding, it's all being tracked. Some palace observers believe this could be part of a long-term strategy. Let Harry and Meghan absorb the pressure, spark the controversy, and raise the difficult questions, while William and Catherine later step in as the steady, dependable alternative. The royals who follow the rules maintain the balance and earn public trust rather than chase headlines. And then there's King Charles, caught in the middle of it all. On one side, his son. On the other, the survival of the institution he represents. Publicly, he stays neutral. He avoids commenting on non-working royals. But privately, the situation is far more complicated, because he understands something crucial. Harry and Meghan's global presence still draws power from the royal name. Every appearance, every project, every headline. It all ties back to the crown in some way. And now, this petition in Australia is a direct reflection of that tension. The timing couldn't be worse. The king is managing his own responsibilities, shaping his reign and dealing with personal challenges, while controversy linked to his own son erupts in one of the monarchy's most important Commonwealth nations. And now, the questions are getting louder. Questions about funding, responsibility, and where the line should really be drawn. Stay with this, because in the next and final part, everything comes together, and the possible outcomes might be even bigger than anyone expected. And if you've made it this far, take a second to subscribe. It genuinely costs you nothing, and you'll be first to catch what happens next. Relevance, loyalty. These are the words now following Harry and Meghan everywhere they go. Royal watchers are starting to notice a clear pattern. From Canada to the United States to the UK, public scrutiny doesn't fade, it follows. And now, Australia has become the ultimate testing ground. If Harry and Meghan are forced to cover their own costs here, It could set a precedent that spreads across other countries. And if you've been following this whole situation, you already see how big this is getting. So make sure you're subscribed, because this final stretch really shows what's at stake and what could happen next. For Meghan, this moment is deeply personal. That 2018 tour was supposed to define her role, to prove her place inside the monarchy. Now she returns to something completely different: criticism, accusations of entitlement, and a country openly questioning her position. Harry feels it too. This isn't a minor inconvenience anymore, it's a full-scale reckoning. Australia was once the stage where he believed Meghan would be embraced not just by the public, but by the institution itself. He's spoken about how powerful that tour felt, how it was meant to shift everything. Coming back now, and facing doubt instead, that has to hit hard. And yet, critics argue this moment didn't come out of nowhere. Every step since that tour, the interviews, the memoir, the Netflix and Spotify deals, has gradually shifted public perception. What once felt like admiration has, in some circles, turned into skepticism. Because their post-royal world depends on something fragile: public interest, attention, and a narrative that keeps them elevated. And once that narrative turns negative, everything starts to wobble. Sponsors hesitate, partnerships become uncertain, and the image they've built begins to show cracks. That's why this Australian petition matters far beyond politics or logistics. This is a test, a real proving ground. If they manage to navigate this storm and shift the narrative, it proves their influence still holds. But if they don't, the fallout could be serious: negative headlines, public pushback, and a story that spirals beyond their control. And while all of this unfolds, the palace is watching closely, quietly. Ideal outcome? A visit that passes without major disruption. Enough positivity to avoid damage, but not enough to overshadow William, Catherine, or the King. But here's the problem. Mediocrity is no longer an option. Because of the petition, every single moment of this visit will be under a microscope. Every appearance, every reaction, every headline, framed by controversy before it even happens. In a way, the narrative is already set. They become the lightning rod, the test case. And whether the visit ends quietly or explodes into global headlines, one thing is already clear: the petition has already changed the game. As mid-April approaches, the uncertainty is building. Will crowds show support, or will protests take over? Can Harry and Meghan still connect with the public the way they once did? Or will they be forced into a defensive position at every step? Because whatever happens next won't stay in Australia. The outcome will ripple across the Commonwealth and shape how the monarchy and the Sussexes are viewed moving forward. Sometimes the biggest turning points don't come with official announcements. They don't start with speeches or decisions made behind palace walls. Sometimes they begin with a single petition, a quiet signal that grows louder and louder, until it forces an entire nation to ask what it really believes. And that moment, it's almost here. If you made it this far, drop your thoughts below. I'm genuinely curious where you stand on this. And if this breakdown gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe. It costs you nothing and you won't miss what's coming next.